with demand expected to come back, the question remains, does this mean the economy is back on track?
Companies now, after experimenting with offshore in places like India, Philippines, and Poland, want to bring those jobs back.
We invest in the U.S. We're the biggest exporter in the country. In the cycle we're in right now, we're creating jobs.
From Radio America, it's Neil Asbury's Made in America, the show that explores American industry, large and small, and promotes American-made products everywhere. Put Neil Asbury's Made in America to work for you.
A very big welcome to you today. I'm your host, Neil Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Ruffin. Hey, Rich, it's great. We got another great show coming up. We're going to talk about all kinds of things to inspire and to equip our entrepreneurial community, our small businesses, our risk takers, to get out there and make things happen. This is a wonderful time for American entrepreneurialism. We're seeing tax rates go down, regulation go down. We're seeing a lot of wealth being created in this marketplace right now, Rich. Everybody needs to participate while it's there.
Well, you're right. You know, actually, came out this week that there are 878,000 millionaires created in the last 12 months as a result of the Trump effect. 878,000 new millionaires. People are doing well.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And you know, the road, to financial freedom, goes many ways. I mean, there's just not one way this happens. Yeah, there's 878,000 stories to go along with that.
That's right.
Everybody's got their own path. But, Rich, in my career, I started out very humbly, and I graduated university with all this student debt. I eventually paid it off. But, to start the business, it wasn't easy. But, there are American government agencies that are very, very powerful, and they do really good things. And one of them is the Small Business Administration. When I started out, I got an SBA-backed loan. Today, $250 million business, 1,000 employees, we're doing very well. But it all started out with a little help from the SBA.
From your friends.
Yeah, my friends in Washington. And, I got to know the folks at the SBA and a number of administrators. And, in fact, we had Administrator McMahon on with us, not long ago. We've had a number of the SBA administrators on our show over the years, and they do incredible work. Back in 2008, we were the Exporter of the Year for SBA, another distinction that I'm very proud of. I still actually have that plaque on my wall, something that I'm very, very proud of. I mean, that was a heck of an accomplishment for our company at the time, and it's it really inspired us, but it also inspired our lenders too, and the people who were looking to provide capital for our company so we can grow. And let me tell you, access to capital, everybody knows as a small business owner, access to capital is a huge deal. But we're also very proud of the SBA work with our veterans. And there's actually an associate administrator who's responsible for veteran business development. Actually, that's in his title. And we're very pleased to have with us just that gentleman right now, Larry Stubblefield, who is the associate administrator for the Office of Veterans Business Development at the Small Business Administration. Larry, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Neil.
So, we're very proud of the work you do. We're very proud of the SBA because, there's a lot of agencies in Washington and we don't quite know what they do. But the SBA does heroic work. And not only that, you're helping our veterans to create businesses. I mean, how much better does it get than that? So how successful have you been? I mean, are our veterans really inspired to come out and join the entrepreneurial ranks of our country?
Well, we see our veterans each and every day, and along their entrepreneurial journeys in all different venues. So the answer to your question, the short answer is yes. I mean, we have success stories and different experiences for our veterans who are looking to go into business. And as you know, our office, the Office of Veterans Business Development, we support veterans and military entrepreneurs. We help them start, grow, or expand their businesses, and we do this through training and various tools and resources that they need to be successful.
Well, and it's a great thing that you do, because we've had many conversations on the show, Neal, about veterans and how we should work better and closer to those leaving the service.
And Rich, and we've had conversations about how they're trained and the skills that they have.
They're sitting
and
there
how
waiting.
How our economy can greatly benefit from those, Rich.
Yeah, and you have a certain class of people who are trained. They're can-do. We discussed this before. They know how to win. They are dogged in terms of persevering to get things done, and they're highly trained, technologically speaking. And ironically, for the jobs that are out there, we're looking for highly trained technological people. Well, they're sitting right here.
So Larry, how do we, look, and I read a lot about this, and I know one thing that our vets struggle with, we all struggle with, is access to capital.
Absolutely.
To capital. How do they, how do you advise on that? I mean, veterans have great ideas like we all do, but all small businesses suffer in this area. It's not just veteran-owned businesses, but we all do. Access to capital. So what do you tell our veterans? They're sitting around the kitchen table. They want to start a business, but they're scared. And they're thinking about, where are they going to plug into some capital to kind of launch this dream?
Yeah, my message to veterans is to come to the SBA, come get the training, the tools, and the knowledge that they need to access capital, as well as do other things in terms of growing their businesses, starting and growing their businesses. For example, I'll just use a couple of the avenues that we use. We're very aligned with the Department of Defense and their transition assistance program. And so every service member separating from the military goes through transition assistance, if you will, the transition assistance program at DOD. And we have a class that we provide. It's called Boots to Business. And Boots to Business has been we've had it out on the streets now since 2013. And since 2013, 82,000 service members have gone through Boots to Business. So it's an introduction to entrepreneurship, if you will. It's conducted at 170 military installations in the United States and 35 installations overseas. And just this past year, we've had over 700 classes. And what that is an introduction to business. There's 8 modules. We covered things like, taxes, franchising, the legal aspects of starting a business. And if a service member, once they leave the Boots to Business program, we have SBA, we provide follow-on training and mentorship for them, as well as opening the doors to our SBA resource partners. So when you think about SBA, you should think in terms of we have 1,400 locations and 12,000 business advisors around the country. So my message to veterans is to come and get that knowledge before you take that leap. A lot of times what we'll find is veterans will go out they're not necessarily successful at first time around because they do not have the knowledge and the skill set, if you will, to engage that those entrepreneurial waters.
So let's take it a step farther. Then you're right. A lot of people have the interest. They're excitable about it, but they don't have the mentoring process. And do you have a program that can actually attach people to other people and mentor them and kind of walk them through the process?
Well, we have 22 veteran business outreach centers around the country, and that's a one-stop shop for, transitioning service members, veterans, military spouses, who are looking to go into the business world. So we call them VBOCs for short, Veteran Business Outreach Centers. And the VBOCs are tied to our SBA district offices. And when we talk about resource partners, we're aligned with the Small Business Development Centers, the Women Business Development Centers, and you mentioned SCORE. We refer service members to SCORE for that mentoring and counseling that they need as well. So my message to veterans is, in terms of SBA, we are here for you, and the vast majority of what we do for veterans are free. This is free.
Incredible. Hey, Larry, thanks for being on the show. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We've been talking with Larry Stubblefield, who's the Associate Administrator for the Office of Veterans Business Development at the Small Business Administration. For all our veterans listening to us, and for all of those still in active service around the world, if ever you wanted to try something else, let me tell you, the life of entrepreneurialism is absolutely wonderful. And because of your experiences, your unique experiences, you're well set up for this. And thank God we got people like Larry who can help you, and the SBA who can help you. And the best thing about it's free, and you're going to get wonderful advice. And they have some ideas for access to capital, contracting opportunities, education, and so forth. Don't sit by. If ever you had a dream to pursue your own business, now is the time. We're going to be right back. Dr. Rothman and I are going to continue the discussion in many more things to come.
Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neal Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. Hey, Rich, it's a real honor to be able to carry the message to our veterans and those even in active service who ever wanted to pursue their entrepreneurial dream, their small business dream, to take a risk. And now is a great time to do it. There's some really great things going on in our country. And here's a headline, too, that came out this week. And, it's good. It's good to see. I mean, it's terrible, terrible, terrible whenever we see a homeless veteran. It's absolutely, it rips your heart out. But guess what? Right now we're hearing from the Office of Veterans Affairs and also the Office of Housing and Urban Development that actually homelessness amongst our veterans is down.
It's declining.
I mean, that is a great statistic, and wonderful to see. And hopefully it's because our economy is starting to really hum along now, and we're creating all kinds of opportunities.
It's interesting. The difference between a veteran in terms of job skills between the veteran and the private sector person, there isn't a difference, except one happens to be military, which has enormous discipline. And then you have the public sector where we make lots of excuses. I mean, the private sector where we make lots of excuses.
Well, the public sector, too.
Yeah, for not succeeding.
Even more excuses.
I just love it when someone says, I take full responsibility for, my screw up. Okay, what does that mean? Well, nothing really. But if you have someone to blame me. But the truth of the matter is, these people are no different than anyone else. And they're smart. And more importantly, They have the discipline to put in the hours to help your company be successful. I mean, seriously, we have such needs for people like that. I mean, we're on the security level and major buildings and airports and schools and so forth. My God, the military's sitting there. They're all trained. Every one of them are trained. Why aren't we talking to them? And one little vertical alone would employ, thousands of people. Just a great opportunity. Anybody out there who's looking to hire people, you better take a look at this because this is a great opportunity. And you're right about the other thing with the SBA. The SBA performs a really valuable function, and it can really help you. So anyone who's thinking about getting involved, or somebody who's already involved and needs further capital and needs advice, counsel, and the ability to get to lines of credit, go get to your local SBA.
That's right. And one of the things they do is that they actually guarantee your bank loans, right? So they provide guarantees.
It's a heck of a
deal.
So
you work with your local banker, and a large percentage, as long as you qualify, and you have to be, you got to have the skills, and you got to have a great plan. You got to put it together. It's got to all fit together. It's got to work. But they guarantee the local banks to lend you money. And take advantage of it.
It's a pretty
As
good
we
deal.
heard from Associate Administrator Larry Stubblefield, it's for free. It's for free. I mean, there's nothing better than that. That's great. It's a great place to invest our American taxpayer money to help grow our entrepreneurial community
And create jobs.
Hey, here's we talk about the Trump effect in many different ways. Whether you're pro or against or where you sit in the political spectrum. This is an astounding fact that the political campaigns spent $8.9 billion on midterms.
I know.
$8.9 billion.
Isn't that amazing?
You know, all that money going into the economy.
David Brim got that stat and got it to us right away, and he was like flipping out over that out of Chicago.
And this is midterms.
I know. I can't wait. What do you think? Gosh, I wonder what they're going to spend in 2 years from now.
But, you know, you got this guy, Beto O'Rourke, the guy down in
Robert
Texas.
Francis O'Rourke.
Okay.
He unilaterally changed it to Beto to attract the Hispanic voters. What a phony. Hey, Beto. What's a Beto? I don't know what a Beto is.
But, you know, what he raised over $100 million? I mean, just in that one campaign?
Yeah, from Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah,
Well,
a lot of Hollywood types went for him.
Well,
Soros went for him. Steyer went for him.
In a big way.
Yeah, big way.
Sometimes, you know, it can blind you. But hey, you know, a lot of money was spent, and that's great. It's great for the economy. You know, so, you know, whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy, the Trump effect is a mysterious thing, and it works in mysterious ways.
You know what's amazing? It does work in mysterious ways.
It takes a midterm election, and imagine all those people that benefited from that. Imagine all of the advertising people and all the people who print things.
Wait a minute. Think about this. CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, CNBC. They're all making a lot of money because of the Trump effect. Look at all the coverage they're getting now, all the viewers that are coming to them because of the Trump effect. They may not have the story that I want to listen to because I know they have a lot of fake news on it, but you know what? It doesn't matter. They're getting eyes, they're getting ears. Everyone's making money on the deal. So Trump's really good for the economy in lots of ways we never expected.
Yeah, we're going to find...
They're going to miss him if he's not there.
Yeah, we're going to find the cable news industry in trouble, you know, if they don't have Trump to talk
Zucker's
about.
not going to know what to do with CNN. It's like, oh, my God, Trump, what are you going to do?
But we did have an election.
Yeah.
In this election, you know, the results are, you know, they're sideways. And, you know, they're sideways as far as promoting entrepreneurialism, economic freedom, giving all us an equal opportunity to go out there and follow our dreams, right? And so, you know, what is this election telling us? I don't know what it's telling us. I think it's telling us a confused message. You know, in some ways, it's saying, hey, let's keep this thing going. Economic freedom, it's the right thing to do. And others is, let's take a hard turn to the left to socialism. Really crazy stuff. Hey, but Rich, unfortunately, we're out of time. We're gonna move on right now. But we got an incredible guest, Gary Shapiro, who's the president and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association. But he's done so many great things. We're going to talk about innovation, but we're also going to talk about China and what's going on with China. And, hey, should we get a deal? Should we not get a deal? You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
Made in America.
Sharply higher at the open, stocks continued to perform well over the course of the day Tuesday.
And I think that bodes well here over the next couple of years for having bigger demands coming to this country.
Now, more of Neal Asbury's Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neal Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Ruffman. Hey, Rich, you know, we got to check back in with with what's happening with China. I mean, it's a very big deal. We talked about that, I think, every week for the last several weeks. But it's good to see that President Trump and President Xi are starting to at least communicate, maybe through the media, maybe, you know, somewhere, you know, in the administration, you know, at a lower level. But there seems to be information now going back and forth, and it does seem to be positive. It does seem to be positive that a resolution could actually occur at some point in the not-so-distant future, and this cloud of uncertainty, which is really bad for business, can be replaced with knowing where we all stand so we can get on with running our businesses. And as an American manufacturer and exporter, and I make a lot of things in this country, and I also import things, these tariffs are very bad for business. It's just very bad. I understand what President Trump is trying to do, but, you know, now's the time to put a deal together. This is the art of the deal. Okay, you bring them to the table. Now you got to put a deal together. We talked about this a lot.
Well, what I find interesting is that, yeah, there is a lot of talk about it. And yes, there's further discussion. What I find interesting is that Larry Kudlow every now and then has to get out there and correct all the scuttlebutt. and make sure people know what's really happening. In other words, if their anticipation level is getting a little bit too high, Larry shows up and says, now everyone calm down, take a deep breath. This isn't going down that road. No, we haven't started a trade pact negotiation. We're not writing a trade pact yet. We're not there yet. But there are a lot of things that are happening. And one of the things I heard today as I was driving to the studio was that the Department of State is discussing with them maybe a trade timeout, a quiet period, a relaxed period, so we don't have any vitriolic discussion, and we can kind of discuss this in a very calm environment.
But here's the deal: that's going to happen quickly because January 1st is coming up, and that's the next round of tariffs, which is then going to have retaliation from China, and here we go again. But we got someone coming on with us right now who's a very, very fascinating man. He runs an incredible organization. He's an author. He's written several books. His next book coming out in January is called Ninja Future. And Gary Shapiro, who's joining us now, is the president and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association and just does all kinds of things with trade associations and a very large trade event in Las Vegas.
It's mammoth.
Which is
it's the show.
The show.
It's the technology show. There's no question about
which
that.
Which is absolutely magnificent. I mean, it's the place.
Yeah, no, I've been to it.
The largest.
It's wonderful.
The largest in the world.
Uh-huh.
Hey, we're going to get Gary on with us right now. Hey, Gary, welcome to Made in America.
Thank you. I am honored to be on your show.
And all the things that you do. I mean, you do an incredible job. You do incredible work. But tell us a little bit about, first, I want to go into this China thing because China's, very much about technology and, technology transfer and stealing of technology. And, since you're the president and the CEO of the Consumer Technology Association, I'm sure you have some very strong thoughts on that. But before we get to China, tell us a little bit about what your organization does. I know that you promote innovation. Excellent. You advocate for skilled immigration, free trade, less regulation, less taxes, all those really good things. But, how do you go about that? How do you go about actually moving the needle?
Well, our focus is on innovation. We think it's very important for the future of the world. And we are an American organization. We have 2,200 American companies. And what we do is we try to come up with all the different things that push that forward, from public policy to standards. We do a tremendous amount of market research. And we encourage environments in each state and in the world which is favorable to innovation, especially U.S. innovation, frankly. And we rank each state as to how innovation-friendly they are. We rank countries to how innovation-friendly they are. We promote new business models like Airbnb and Pandora and Lyft and Uber and others are all members of ours. And we say, the part of the capitalist system is that you sometimes have to disrupt the marketplace. You have to do things differently. We've been engaged with China in different ways. We have an event in China. We started a few years ago because American and European companies asked us for a high-quality event. We call it CES Asia. It's in Shanghai every June. And honestly, we just started a few years ago, and it used to be everything was copycat there. Now, the most recent one in June, I walked away thinking the Chinese have caught the innovation bug. They're doing things that are unique. They certainly have taken a lot of stuff from non-Chinese companies, and they've done it unethically, if not illegally. But now they're working on their own, and they have an innovation strategy, which really is a pretty good one. And I think President Trump is absolutely right to point out that they've done things unfairly. He's absolutely right that they're our competitor. In fact, if you think of the future of the world, we have the Chinese with focused on innovation, focused on depriving their citizens of rights that we expect: freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom to access the internet, freedom to vote. They don't have the cleanest air and water. We have the cleanest air and water. And it's two different views of the world that are going to be competing for the world's attention. One is focused on democracy and liberty and the free market, and the other is focused on central control, the greater good rather than individual rights. And their innovation strategy, based on it, is a good one. I think we have to compete with them. We have to be realistic about it. And I applaud President Trump for focusing on it. I just think that, history has proven repeatedly, again and again, the tariffs of taxes and taxes, everybody loses. There's no question the Chinese are hurting right now. There's no question that we're hurting right now. Great companies are going under. They're laying off people. And it's about to get really bad January 1 when we go to 25% tariffs on $200 billion worth of products. And that would just be devastating. Companies now are put in a very awkward position. Plus, our world-leading companies like Starbucks and McDonald's, and John Deere and Ford and some of the others are put in a situation where their expansion they're experiencing in China is going to come to a halt if it hasn't already. So this is a very, very painful, dangerous situation we're in. And that dinner could be the dinner that avoids a depression.
Wow.
Wow.
That's big.
That's a very big statement there.
Hey, we're listening to Gary Shapiro, President and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association. He has a lot of thoughts here he's sharing with us. This is great stuff. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be right back with Gary Shapiro.
Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neal Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. And joining us now for another very insightful few minutes is Gary Shapiro, who's the president and the CEO of the Consumer Technology Association. So, Rich, Gary just mentioned, this is very stark. This is very important stuff. Referencing the dinner or the engagement that President Trump has with President Xi coming up. To talk about what are we going to do about this stuff. And if this doesn't go well, I mean, is this the start of the depression?
No, he used the D word. I mean, he made it very, very clear that, no question whatsoever that there are dire consequences
it was
making the wrong decision.
Back in 1929, I believe it was, but just before the Great Depression of the American Congress putting tariffs on many products from around the world and essentially closing off the U.S. market. And it was very devastating. And a lot of people say that that's what started or made the Great Depression so much worse.
Actually, it was a Great Recession that became a Great Depression as a result of what you just talked about.
Tariffs.
Tariffs. And then it went global. So not good. I like to hear, Gary, really glad you're here right now. So how do you move forward with this? What do you suppose these folks are going to say at this dinner?
What do you say? Do you see any tea leaves right now? How do you read tea leaves?
How
do you read the tea leaves?
How more cliche can you be than tea leaves at a Chinese meeting? Oh, my God.
So
Go ahead.
What happened since Smoot-Hawley, which was 1930, when Congress was about to pass that, which was the closest thing we have to what happened then was Smoot-Hawley, where Congress passed these, then were huge tariffs, like 10 or 15%. Now we're talking about 25%. Almost every economist in the country said don't do it. They signed letters. There was a front page of the New York Times. And what happened in the interim, obviously we know it made a recession, depression, as you correctly just said. But now every economist is saying the same thing again. For the first time, they're all united, except this one guy in the White House who calls himself an economist. And that was something that since then Congress gave some authority, limited authority, to the president to say you can impose tariffs if there's a national security finding, if it's after a specific finding of harm done as was done with China for intellectual property theft. What it didn't say was you could do it just to retaliate. And there's a question there, which is a legal question, which maybe will be resolved whether the president even has this authority. But going to 25% is dangerous. Now, the question that every company is facing now, and I talk to CEOs all the time, is right now it's 10% for a lot of products, and they're sucking it up. It's not affecting the holiday season. Will definitely affect the first quarter. And what do? Do you bet that it's going to go to 25% and order everything now? Do you bet that it'll stay at 10% with some kind of freezing pattern, or will it go to 0%? And, they're all betting differently. Now they're all starting to raise prices. Some of them are absorbing all the costs. Everyone's handling it different. Some are trying to, source from Vietnam or Indonesia or Malaysia. What I haven't heard of is one company saying we're going to build this in the U.S. because of this. Because frankly, the cost of the labor. You asked me about the tea leaves. Where does this go? I don't have a clue, but I'm increasingly concerned. There never was a plan at the White House. I think Larry Kudlow is not supportive of this, but he's been the outside comforter in chief to bring the markets down. But the stock markets have been gyrating crazily. Each time it looks like it's going in a different way. The most recent thing that came out today from the White House was the Secretary of Commerce saying, I don't expect a big deal then. It's not going to be, maybe a framework at most from the dinner. I don't know if they have a plan. We've asked the White. I've written articles saying, what's the plan? What are you even asking China for? No one has an answer. The Chinese don't know what they're being asked for. If we knew what they were being asked for, we could help. What I think Trump is doing, in my view, may be that he's just trying to say, look, they're going after the same areas we're going after, self-driving vehicles, artificial intelligence, robotics. They have the same strategic areas we do. So if we could isolate them versus the rest of the world, we might have a chance here. And I respect the strategy and the desire. I don't respect the tactics. The tactics of not giving demands, the tactics of scaring the heck out of the business community, ruining our best companies that export there, and ruining companies that's part of the supply chain for great imports, is not a good strategy for the country. And I am concerned. We will have a recession. Certainly the stock market's starting to head that way, and we will have one. I mean, there always is a business cycle. It's just a question of when. But we don't want it to be a bad recession. And the lack of certainty and predictability, and he has no clue what it's like to actually run a business with a global supply chain. It's killing companies. And I don't know.
Gary, you're right. I mean, I'm an American manufacturer, but I also import a lot of products. And I will tell you that over 50% of what we import from China are raw materials and components that goes into American products, including my products that are built here in the United States. So this is not good. It's a cloud of uncertainty, and you can't have uncertainty and have a roaring economy. Everything has got to kind of align. If it's going to be 10%, tell us it's going to be 10%. We'll adjust maybe, but it shouldn't be 10%. But if it is, it's better to know than not to know. And I think in your piece that you wrote for Investors Daily, which was very good, and the title was Why We Need a Deal with China and Not a Trade War. And in that you say, look, we should declassify demands. Now, we had someone on that was very close to the administration and said there was like 20 demands that we've given them, and they didn't really tell us what they were. But what they did say that they have to hit all the demands before President Trump is going to, go back in the other direction. In other words, go back to the zero tariffs. It sounds pretty draconian. We got 20 demands and we're not going to talk to you until you do 20 demands. But they couldn't say what those demands were. So, this is a funny, it's not funny. This is a scary. It's funny because it's so scary. It's how did we get this way? But this is a terrible place to be.
I agree. Trump has done a great job with the economy. He's done a great job with taxes and cutting rules and setting a pro-business atmosphere, which we certainly didn't have the last 8 years. But this is devastating in a way I'm not sure he understands. I'm not sure he understands the point that the deal we had with the Trans-Pacific Partnership was an anti-Chinese deal among all these countries.
It was a great deal.
He pulled us out of it. That was a great strategy, but I don't think he ever understood it was anti-Japanese and Chinese. And when it's finally explained to him, he issued a tweet saying maybe we should be in it.
And hopefully he's going to get back to that place because, I understand that, there's – but unfortunately we're out of time. We could have went on forever here. Hey, we're going to have to get you back real soon. We hope that you're going to carve out a few moments for us here in the near future because you've been a wonderful guest. Gary Shapiro just published a piece, Investors Daily, Why We Need a Deal with China, Not a Trade War. He's also the president and CEO of the Consumer Technology Association, and he's the author of the upcoming book in January, Ninja Future. Hey, Gary, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, I can't believe it, Rich.
It's the end.
But coming up, we're going to have some final thoughts for the day, and I'm very, very upset about that because I'm having so much fun.
Made in America.
Welcome to Made in America. I'm your host, Neal Asbury, together with co-host Dr. Rich Rothman. So, Rich, a great show today. I got to tell you, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Having fun and learning at the same time. How can it be better than that? But first of all, our veterans. Isn't it wonderful, though, that the SBA, the Small Business Administration, actually has an assistant administrator who's dedicated to helping our veterans start businesses? Isn't that what government is supposed to do? They're supposed to do those good things. And there's a lot of good things happening in government. There's a lot of not good things, and probably a lot of not good things outweigh the good things. However, the SBA doing a great job for our veterans.
You know what I like about all of this? We don't have a draft. So the men and women who go into the service right now are voluntarily saying, I want to serve my country. That's a very strong statement. I'm going to take myself out of the private sector. I'm not going to be a civilian for a number of years. I'm going to be in the military. I'm going to be subject to military law. I'm going to have to work really, really hard. I'm not going to make a ton of money, but I'm going to do something good, the greater good, as Gary Signer pointed out in some of his discussion. And so when these folks are, detaching from the military, have all this talent that they brought to the military and they learned in the military, how great that the SBA has a division and multiple divisions in different areas in the country, 22 that we just learned today. that they can actually help these people and get them on the road to entrepreneurism. Because if anyone deserves it, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, they help to create the economy and keeping us strong and keeping us safe. So why should they not participate?
They protect the economy.
Right.
They give us the ability to protect the economy. That's a strong chore.
They give us protection so us crazy guys like you and I can go out there and build our dreams and build our visions into these great organizations. And I just hope that more and more participate. I think that'd be really good, because one of the things that you have to be as an entrepreneur is you have to be very persistent, right?
You have to have a very strong sense of belief. Seriously. You cannot doubt. You have to absolutely believe in everything that you're doing.
Tenacity
and focus
is a virtue.
on that. You have to focus on that.
That's right.
And you can't let short-term challenges thwart you from being able to jump that and get to your long-term goal. Just saying.
So, to kind of just check back with what we're talking about with Gary Shapiro. Wow, very, very, very fascinating.
Whoa, I'm impressed with Gary Shapiro. That
very
was
well
wonderful.
And he really nailed it. I mean, he was on one hand very complimentary to President Trump and everything that he was doing, and what he's done with deregulating the economy and taxes, and just basically embracing American entrepreneurialism, and then just leaving it to the entrepreneurs to do the rest. I mean, it's just signaling to the American entrepreneur that we love you and this is a great place to be, and we're going to support you. Now you're going to go do all the heavy lifting, and you're going to make all of the risk, and you're going to put it all on the line, and you're either going to win or you're going to lose. That's all for you. But we applaud you, and we support you, and we respect you, and we want you to be successful. And when you are successful, we're going to all be happy for you. We're gonna applaud you for being successful, because we know all those that you bring with you along to this journey are also benefiting. I mean, it's a huge multiplier effect. So yes, Gary's telling us that's all wonderful stuff, but this cloud that we're creating over our country is a real problem. I got to tell you, if on January 1st tariffs go to 25%, the Chinese are going to retaliate, and then the president's saying, "Well, we're going to put tariffs on everything. I don't care what it is, everything."
Well, then you have a domino effect.
And then it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly, and Gary's saying, well, does he even have a plan? Does he have a plan? Well, sometimes it doesn't look like he has a plan. And, is this the art of the deal? Okay, you go out there and, you hit everybody in the head, and you keep hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. At some point, they come to the table and you make a deal. Well, I hope this is the point that they come to the table and make a deal, because the clock is ticking. January 1st, everyone in business, and Gary's right. I mean, I'm a manufacturer. I know this is true. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So how can you go and invest and do deals and create jobs when you have no clue what to expect?
Neal, why would you want to invest and look out to the future when you just use the D word? If the economy goes absolutely flat,
well, look,
how could you overextend yourself?
Hey, look, we did a lot of shows during the Obama administration, and we always said that the uncertainty of all of this regulation and increasing taxes and more taxes. And then there was the whole overtime thing, and, what that was going to do to our businesses. There was the whole union thing, and, forced unionism and all of that, and all the uncertainty there.
Right.
We called it out. We said it was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong then. But what we're doing today, it's wrong today with all this uncertainty on tariffs. Rich, unfortunately, though, would love to get into that topic, but we're out of time.
Next week.
But we're going to be back again next week, Rich, with another adventure of Made in America, where we never stop fighting for your jobs.